Celtics 76ers. We will wait as people are slowly arriving to the party. Which the Celtics lost.
This is just vodka because that's how pissed off I am about this game.
I figured it was good. I was getting those kind of vibes from Jimmy on the text thread.
Well, that was an annoying game. You know me. I hate moral victories, so it's easy. By the way, the Nets got drilled by the Cavs in the second OT.
Yeah, I saw that coming. They were creating distance in the second half.
Whoa! In that second OT, they pulled away. Cavs. I want to talk about that game later. It's kind of interesting when you look at the box score. But
Cavs are sneaky good.
Huh?
Cavs are sneaky good.
Yeah. So Celtics lose 117-109. There's definitely some good things here, which we'll get into for sure. There's some annoying bad things. I'm going to start down the stretch here because this was a classic. This was one of those, like, you watch the Celtics piss away games in the fourth quarter and you get really frustrated last year sort of games. But at the 2:30 mark at 109-107, that was after the Tice alley-oop slam. Gets them within two. They make a nice defensive play where Smart pulls the chair out from under Embiid, go the other way. Smart, very loose with the ball, almost loses it, gets back tapped. Celtics lucky to retain possession. Then Jalen turns it over when they get the ball back there, driving to the basket, gets up in the air, gives it away, sloppy. Then Philly comes down 111-109, couple possessions later. That ridiculous offensive rebound that nobody puts a body on Korma. That's a friggin' terrible play late in the game there. Foul, Philly 113-109. And then off of the three where Tice gets the rebound, then he's careless with it. He gets stripped by Simmons. Just way too much of that down the stretch. You're just giving away possessions and giving away the ball and not valuing the basketball late in the game. And they lost it based on execution. I also think Kemba sitting for as long as he did was a curious decision, but we can talk about it. Guys, your thoughts on the game? Because the end was really frustrating, so I'm starting there, and we can build on other stuff.
Well, the end was frustrating for sure. That Green play, especially the offensive rebound you mentioned, was the one that sticks out to me the most. You already got into that a little bit. But believe it or not, I'm going positive here. I thought there were a ton of positive developments tonight. Kemba Walker was awesome for large stretches of this game. They unlocked Daniel Tice. I mean, I had been waiting all year for that Kemba and Tice combination to start rolling again, and I think this lends more credit to Tice actually being the starter on this team going forward once Tatum gets back. I love what Marcus did tonight. Like a very inverse game for him, doing all his work inside the arc, in between, at the rim against Embiid. He was incredible here. Execution late was definitely a challenge, but you didn't necessarily have a closing force. Kemba being within the flow of a game. John, you mentioned that, him coming in awkwardly there after not playing the middle stretch of the fourth. And, I guess you probably could have got more shots for Brown late in the game, but that would be the only complaint I have. And even he cooled off a little bit after starting most of the game, 50%.
Yeah, I mean, I thought for the most part, up until the fourth quarter, late game execution, I mean, pretty much everything that really pissed off John tonight. I'm on the same page as John. I'm not on the same page with Kemba. We'll get into that in a little bit. I thought that Brad did a great job with him, and you could see the enthusiasm throughout the first half because obviously he's hitting shots. He's not afraid. He's penetrating. He's doing exactly what he does, and it showed how effective the Celtics or how tough the Celtics can be when he's playing that way. But then down the stretch, I mean, what happened to the days of the Celtics stringing together, two or heck, I was gonna say three, but let's just say two back-to-back defensive stops. I mean, that's what used to get them out of games, or at least used to help them close out games. Because when you're having big scoring night for Marcus Smart, which, in my opinion, his best game of the season, it's not even close. Daniel Tice, offensively, on defense, that two-man game with Kemba, it was almost like it's rejuvenated him. It's giving him a shot to say, hey, maybe I can fight for more playing time, or maybe I can carve out the role that I had before. I thought that you get the two best games, you get the best game out of Marcus, you get the best game out of Daniel Tice. And it's unfortunate it didn't materialize into a win because Jaylen Brown had a great scoring, had a productive scoring game. Looking at the team that scored 75 points on Sunday compared to what we saw against the Sixers, I mean, again, it really came down to those final 4 or 5 minutes where they just cannot string together stops. And that's a bit of a concern for sure. Jason Tatum or not, that's what concerns me.
That's fine. I'm one little quibble there. One quibble. They can't string together stops, sure. I mean, what are we doing here with these with the Embiid foul situation? He's difficult enough to guard straight up. Is there going to be a whistle every single time he gets the ball down low?
They have those nights. We've seen those against the Celtics too over the years. There's those nights where he gets everything.
Fun to watch.
But they were surviving it, John. They were surviving it until that fourth quarter. You know,
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It can't be a foul every time just because he plows his way wherever he wants to go. Right. It can't always be a foul. He's initiating contact more often than not in those situations.
Almost every single time, right?
They have to rethink how they call this. You can't just choose to go somewhere. Someone's standing there and you just go flail around a little bit and they call a foul. Especially, I mean, Tice looked like he was going to cry.
What do you think of that?
He's like, it's hard enough being me. Like, can you give me a break here? You know,
he kept his composure to his credit, you know, and I'm thinking, oh, here we go. He's going to foul out. He's going to lose it. He's going to get frustrated and just start swinging. And he didn't do that, you know?
Yeah. Well, John kind of took my point was basically you don't have a Joel Embiid stopper. Whether that means, you know, obviously he got a lot of calls in the fourth quarter. Some of them, you know, were a lot easier to take than others. And that's not really a knock on the Celtics. There's not many players out there that when Embiid is on can just sort of stop him. And we saw that he's an MVP frontrunner this year. The way he's playing, the way he has the Sixers playing. We can't talk about this without saying that the Celtics didn't have Jason Tatum tonight. I know Josue mentioned it at the very end of his point. It's a huge factor. I mean, let's be honest. Without Jason Tatum, you can beat the Orlando Magic. But let's be honest. You're gonna be very fortunate to beat a Philadelphia 76ers team with their best players in the game. The fact that the Celtics competed for as long as they did kind of goes back to a little bit what Bobby was saying, where he's taken the glass half full take out of this game, which I can see. I don't like how this game got away with him in the fourth quarter. I also don't like how Kemba Walker sat for as long as he did, but I also don't know how he's feeling physically mid-game. So I don't know if that was something where they were trying
like
to
a plan,
stretch
Jimmy.
him out. It did. It did. But I mean, they don't want to overdo anything with him, and I don't have the, you know, I can't really comment on how they're going to bring him back, you know, with the knee. So he played the minutes he did. He looked good when he was out there. Did the layoff in the third quarter hurt the team or hurt him down the stretch in the fourth? Maybe. I mean, I really couldn't say, but it was a game that they could have won, but it wasn't a game that I went in there thinking this is going to be a game that they should win without having Tatum. So listen, it sounds like maybe, I actually don't know if it sounds like it, but there's a chance Tatum could be back Friday. And if that's the case, then it's sort of like your best versus their best. And I would hope for a different outcome.
Yeah, Brad put it at 50-50 for Friday.
Yeah, I was going to say 50-50.
We can talk about Embiid all show. I mean, this guy, he's a physical freak. I mean, if you've seen
he looks better.
If you've seen Embiid play in person, and I've said this before this year, he's always been like in my top 3-4 guys where you just have to see him play in person. It's just really something to watch live, just the way that he scores, the way he dominates out there. But the refs don't need to help him as much as they do. And there are points where it feels like they just give Embiid the ball. And like John said, he backs his way down, does a little turn and flails his arms up. And what can Daniel Tice do? I mean, the guy has no choice but to be a little bit extra physical with somebody like Embiid. You want to be clean about it. But, you know, at some point, if the refs are just waiting to blow the whistle at, you know, the drop of a hat, then you kind of shit out of luck.
Well, what about Tristan Thompson though? You know,
he's got
a handful of games under his belt now. I mean, was this going to be the night we see how tough and strong he can be against Joel Embiid, the big and bad Joel Embiid? I didn't see much of it tonight.
I thought his third quarter was good, especially the first part of it. Tice was playing so well.
Why do we have to start with the
Bobby pinpoints the 4-minute stretch of the
Why
entire
do we have to
game.
start with the 2 minutes?
Well, I mean, Jimmy's talking about Embiid stopper. It's an MVP level guy.
Bobby would have started.
Why are we talking about the 2 minutes where he wasn't the worst player on the floor instead of the rest of it?
Well,
I don't understand. Why talk about it?
I'm looking for some glimpses against Embiid here. Embiid is killing everyone to start this year. So you get some good minutes against him at the start of the third. By the beginning of the fourth, he's not scoring at all. He didn't score until the second portion of that fourth quarter. So you did hold him down for a significant portion of the fourth until it really mattered in crunch time.
When he came into the fourth, And he had back-to-back possessions where he just got eaten alive, and Brad's like, nope, bench, Tice, that's it. Okay?
Well, Tice was amazing tonight. I mean, you couldn't set him in crunch time.
Because Tice lives for this matchup. Whether he's getting bullied or not, he's going to give you his best.
Jimmy, sorry, I'm fired up. Go ahead.
So that's the problem here.
I said my piece.
Problem here is
come on. Say more piece. Jimmy Cam.
Yeah.
What? Wait. More Embiid? I mean, I already went off. Oh, on Thompson. Listen.
ISO Jimmy.
It did feel like Thompson was overmatched out there, Bobby. I know you want to pinpoint the few minutes where he didn't, and I think Thompson is necessary for the Celtics to compete against the Sixers because if you watch the game tonight,
that's all I'm saying. Yeah.
Embiid was by far the best player on the court, and you brought Thompson in for that not to be the case, right? I mean, Al Horford had better luck against Embiid.
TPEL. Go get him now.
TPEL. I mean,
we need
listen, if that's what it
Al's
takes.
the Joel Embiid guy. Come on now. We all know that.
We know who would have hoped too was Rob. No Rob tonight. So that matters too.
Rank the bigs right now based on performance.
I just had to bring it up because it was outlandish for Bobby to call Tristan the Joel Embiid stopper.
No one did. When did I say that? No one called him that. Jimmy's talking about a hypothetical guy that should exist, and he doesn't. No one's stopping Embiid. You just got to stop him for stretches.
I mean, you're being a little playful with it, but
through 12 games.
But Bobby, they did bring him in to be that type of a guy. I'm not saying they said you're the Embiid stopper. Like, well,
no, he's got to do a better job. I'll contend that. And John's asking for an order right now. It's got to be.
The easiest players to start is the bottom. Thompson 3.
Well, no, Grant's 4, and then Thompson
okay, but
3.
I'm not even counting him. He's starting at the wing right now.
Well,
of
he
the
should
three
be
bigs right now. If you're ranking them, the easiest ranking to make right now is Grant is Thompson 3.
Yeah, and then
so I go Thompson. I go Thompson, Williams, Tice, Taco. Throw Taco in there. Throw him in there.
1A, 1B.
No, I think Tice. I mean, Bobby, you want to talk about Tice, so by all means, go for it. But
this game elevates Tice to the top. It does.
Tice did. I mean, Tice looked like the old Tice out there in stretches. Yeah, active. He had a good thing going with Kemba, as Bobby mentioned off the top. So maybe as crazy as it sounds, maybe
he's back.
Tice really did need Kemba, more than I thought, but about the same amount that Bobby kind of was correct in that. It's one game. But it felt like Tice looked a lot more comfortable out there with Kemba on the floor.
No, and listen, I'm not going to defend Thompson to the death. I've criticized him the last few games. What still frustrates me the most about him, and we see the 2 points, how is he going to make himself a factor on the offensive end of the floor? I like what he's doing on the defensive boards. That third quarter especially, he just racked up board after board. I like the defense he played early in the quarter on him. But again, you see Smart finding him underneath the basket and the ball just shooting right through his legs. It looks like Taco. It really does when they throw the ball too low at him. He can't get up there on lobs. He took a jumper to start the game, bricked it. So it's like, where are you going to fit in on offense? He's not taking
his one basket was that ridiculous ball when he had a mid-range little set shot he could have taken. Instead, he just kind of panicked, took one dribble, and just Sherman Douglas one-handed floater in the lane.
Great name drop.
Dropped.
That was
I planted a seed. I planted that Sherman Douglas seed last week.
No, I used to practice that shot in my driveway all the time. Sherm had that great little because he couldn't get over anybody.
Yeah.
Throw that ball up sky high, 15 feet up in the air, and it would just teardrop down. I loved that floater.
That's pretty much all he had. That's true.
I love that shot.
How about Tobias Harris doing things? I mean, that's
all right. We got to get in the Philly too. Yeah, we do.
No, we don't.
They look good.
No, we don't.
They do look good.
No, they look good.
This isn't the Philly show.
It's not the Philly show, but John, I mean, this is almost borderline apology camp for Bobby because he's been trashing Philly since before the season even started, and even up to I think even last week he still said Philly's overrated.
Joel Embiid's trash. They should have traded for Harden.
So I'm gonna hold out on.
I mean, not Joel Embiid. Ben Simmons is trash.
Yeah, so that's what I'm holding out on Philly for right now. He still doesn't look involved enough. He still doesn't look like a fourth quarter guy who's going to be able to lay his imprint on the game where it counts most. Yeah, and Oh, like you're talking about a guy like Seth Curry factoring more into late stages of games, important stretches of games than Simmons is on the offensive end of the floor. Now, you still like having Simmons for the rebounds, for the passing throughout stretches of the games, defense too, although Brown did break him down a few times.
That was impressive.
He struggled. He has struggled. The last few games especially, you got to consider what impact do these trade talks have on him now and how involved he feels on the team. And, we saw that happen with the Celtics during the Davis era. We saw it happen with the Lakers during their Davis talks. Now, all of a sudden, Simmons came, and there were reports out there that his agent was telling him, you're ready to go. And now he's back. And it's like, what's going to happen with that?
It's a good point. I don't know how much of it's mental, but let's be honest. It's style of play-wise. I mean, Simmons is still playing. I mean, he won't shoot. I mean, the guy won't shoot an 18-footer. Never mind a three-pointer. So
he won't shoot an 8-footer.
I know. I mean, listen. I don't know what it's going to take. I mean, he's obviously got so much ability and athleticism and all that stuff. But it's the NBA. At the end of the day, teams are going to figure you out. I mean, if you have no outside shot or no confidence in your outside shot, and now, the way Bobby's talking about, what's his confidence outside of the shot? Confidence in his own game, confidence in his team. Does he even want to be on the team right now based on all these rumors and reports? I mean, the reports did say that he didn't want to be traded and did want to stay. So maybe there's a sense of relief there, but maybe there's also a sense of, well, maybe I'm just here until the next superstar becomes available or the next trade opportunity.
He's basically full outlaw with his field goal selection.
Yeah, I mean, and I think at this point, everybody knows
around the basket.
Everybody, I think, would agree that a healthy Embiid is much more valuable than Simmons, and that's just the way it is. And I said that last year, but health has always been health and effort. I think for Embiid have always been the two biggest things, and the skill and the talent and the ability to do so much on both ends of the court have never been in question.
Right, but I think now with Doc Rivers though as the head coach, I think it changes things. Someone like Doc, I think this is like his biggest challenge. He had Rondo, he had Chris Paul,
Dude,
that didn't work out so well. And now he has this point guard who is like the opposite, or almost the polar opposite of what a standard superstar point guard is supposed to be. And I think it's on him and I think he's going to take it, upon himself to maybe not make him a 3-point shooter, but I think in the next couple of years or so, I think he'll start shooting. I really do. It's an ongoing conversation I have with Max. Max loves to bust my balls about this because I compare it to what he did with Rondo. I think the pressure of him having to shoot has been alleviated now. You got Danny Green. You have, he didn't play today. It was Seth Curry. You have other guys that can shoot the three. Joel Embiid can shoot the three. And now I think he's going to hone his other skills that make him great. The other skills that make him great is what makes the team great. You surround him with shooters, and I think that's a part of his game that people are going to start saying, okay, well, now he's taking 15 or 14 footers. I don't know if he's going to be a 3-point shooter, in a couple of years or so. But I think that's a project Doc's looking forward to taking care of him. Taking care of
Doc at the same time. You don't think Doc would take a superstar? I mean, Doc's a superstar coach. I mean,
they wanted to. It's very clear, and Houston didn't want it.
Houston did they try to tweak it at the very end and try to hold back Max or whatever?
I think Houston went cheap and was like, let's clear the books for next year, which makes no sense to me. But that's another conversation.
Yeah, but what about Joel Embiid? You don't think Joel Embiid is a superstar, Jimmy?
Joel Embiid's a superstar? Absolutely. Yeah, they want to put another one with him.
Yeah, that's so your salary slots right now are built around Simmons, Embiid, and Harris. And Harris is a fine third guy in that combination, but is your 2 Simmons? Simmons isn't good enough to be that 2 guy right now. So all of a sudden you're putting the weight of an entire team's, fourth quarter hopes, playoff hopes on one player in Embiid. And, give credit to him tonight. He got the easy ones. He got himself in the position to get fouled, and that helps when you're trying to close a game. You'd rather be at the free throw line shooting than trying to make baskets in the fourth quarter. But he showed a better ability to be able to sustain into the fourth quarter tonight. And that's still the only question left with him. I mean, none of us had any questions about Embiid's game on either end of the floor before this year. It was just, can he close?
Can he finish?
Yeah.
And it's much easier to finish when you get a foul called every single time rather than have to work for the basket.
But if you put yourself in the post, you're taking those jumpers.
Hey, Dad.
Sometimes
you're right. You're right. That's a different story. He puts himself in a position where you kind of have to confront him physically versus being out there and taking jumpers.
He outscored the Celtics from the free throw line. That's crazy.
Let's get into Kemba. We didn't talk a lot about it.
Outscored.
I thought Kemba looked like he was shot out of a cannon to start this game. Like,
it was like Hornets Kemba.
Much faster than last game. He was
bang,
playing.
Bang, couple threes.
But like bouncy, he looked. That's the first time I remember since pre-bubble of him moving that well. And again, maybe it's just in comparison to how he looked.
Cam
seemed to be half speed. He looked really quick to me. And then they iced him. He had 17 points in the first half, 2 points in the second half. Barely hit a shot there. I guess tweaking how you're going to play those minutes. I know what Brad was going for there. It's almost hard to rate his second half because I felt like he was so out of the game at that point by the time he finally got in. I mean, to sit that whole stretch in the second, the whole halftime, and all of the third quarter.
Right.
But just impressions of the first half, Kemba. Am I overreacting? Because I was super impressed. Not apology cam level impressed, but super impressed.
No, I was too. And I think that's what Brad Stevens is hoping is going to be the norm. That jolt of offense that this team needs out of the gate sometimes is going to go a long way. And it's not just necessarily him scoring; it's him finding his guys and finding the bigs. And in the second half, I thought Brad Stevens did a good job of trying to hone that to the fourth quarter, because he knows you put him in anywhere near that third quarter or to play anywhere near the 3 to 4 or 5 minute mark. He's not going to have enough in the fourth, and he was able to manage that well into the fourth quarter. John, you asked the group text, well, why isn't Kemba back out there in the third quarter? I'm like, because if he doesn't put him back in there in the fourth, if he doesn't save him for the fourth quarter, the Celtics aren't going to win this game. I thought he gave him a fight.
Yeah, but that's fine. But you took him out. You effectively neutralized him for the game. So it made sense in theory. In actuality and in practice, it didn't work. Because
I think when I say that's going to be the norm, I think keeping him under 30 minutes is going to be the norm. I don't know if that pattern is going to be the norm, but I just think the difference between now and what we see in the postseason is so far down the road that this is a good opportunity for the Celtics to ease him in carefully, while also, of course, keeping him, in action. And of course, scoring 5 3-pointers is going to keep you in the flow of the offense. So this is big. It's like what Brad Stevens said before the game. The Celtics have to adapt to Kemba. They have to bring Kemba into the fold. Get him up to speed, not the other way around. I agree with that.
It is interesting if you look at the chat here. The rage is a little bit all over the place.
Overreacting.
But the reactions are here. Some people are anti-Kemba because they think he kind of kills the flow of everything. I don't know whether that's the case or not. People are going hard on Brad here for his rotations. Another thing you're hearing is obviously the Thompson and the lack of a true center and also lack of wing depth. It's amazing that like every single thing we say negative about this team always rears its head all at once during a loss. But it is funny because every time when you lose, you see where you've got issues, and all of those are real. Javonte Green played 30 minutes tonight and he played fairly well, but he's still Javonte Green, These 30 minutes, because that's the best thing that you could do here against these guys at the 3.
Jason Tatum takes those minutes and Javonte Green, that's it. We can't. We can't talk about this team like Jason Tatum didn't play, like he played, So I understand where a lot of these commenters are coming from, and I know Brad Stevens probably had some questionable substitutions that we could talk about all day, probably, or every game. There's something that you can talk about, not just with Brad, but any coach. Maybe somebody's going to ask him about Kemba's, in and out of the game and why that happened. People want us to apologize about Teague. Why? I mean, I'm not apologizing about Teague yet.
He is what he is.
He played just as well, if not better, than Pritchard tonight. What's going to happen with that point guard spot with Kemba back to full speed at some point? I don't know. I mean, Pritchard was developing really well.
No, we're not having that conversation yet, Jimmy. Stop it.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, at some point, like, obviously his minutes are going to shoot down, and so will Teague. So, these are questions that will get answered at some point. But
how I feel.
But listen, I thought Kemba tonight looked great. I'm just looking to see how he moves out there, and I didn't see anything. I'm impressed. Yeah, I didn't see anything to be upset about. I'll tell you what, a few more games like that, and I will have to get on the apology.
How many times has Brad been? How many times has Brad been fired now in 8 years?
You're always going to have questionable subs when your bench consists of Grant Williams and Javonte Green. You know, like
when you're starting Grant Williams, like.
But the Celtics have been getting a ton out of their bench. You know, and I'm not. You know me. I'm not an anything apologist, but. Actually, I'd say Brad has maximized this roster that's fairly incomplete and inconsistent because they're getting insane bench production. And in
their
fact,
bench is winning them games.
That's what's won them games.
Yeah. And tonight again, you look at the rotations tonight. They outscored Philly by 9 with Teague on the court, 5 with Semi. You know, and plus minus isn't everything, but when it's split between your starters and your bench, you're seeing that you can kill Philly's second unit. And then when it came down to crunch time and the early portion of this game as well, Philly starters were just a cut above Boston starters. Now, why is that? Is it Thompson struggles? Is it the fact that you have Grant and just this hole at the 5th spot right now without Tatum? That's probably a big part of it too.
It was Embiid, man.
Yeah, and even when Tatum's been out there, though, you have seen opposing starting lineups give Boston Stars troubles all the way back to the 2 big lineup that we used to talk about. So the bench has been great this year. You're right, John. Like you think of what Tice is giving.
The numbers bear out. The bench is I don't have it in front of me. The bench numbers are the reason are among the best in the league.
Yeah, but if you were to point out 3 or 4 games, you'd have a different leading score from that bench unit every single time, which is normally a good thing. But it's just that the other guys don't always show up every single, the consistency. And I thought Grant Williams was getting there.
You got to give that to Brad, though.
But then now he has to start, and that sort of mixes things up.
No, they're building good rotations, and Jimmy has talked about this too. Like we talked for so long about like what would be the best starting lineup possible. Do you put Rob in there? Do you put Pritchard in there? But like they're staggering Rob in there and Pritchard in there. Rob when he's been available. You're seeing Jalen lead some of these units. I thought Kemba in that first half led some bench units well. Like they stagger this in a way that really maximizes those bench guys and what they can give them. And when you have Tice rolling like he did tonight, Smart as well, and he's not really a bench guy, but he's kind of that glue guy between the bench and the starters. They got excellent production, and it's not even like a starter bench split with this team. It's all intertwined throughout in good rotations, and that's what wins you games ultimately. Like who has the best rotations throughout the flow of the game. And I think the Celtics have built pretty good ones throughout this year. But you're right, Josue. They haven't been consistent. You don't have a go-to starting lineup and bench. And part of that's been COVID. Part of that's been the injuries and other things. And, to get back to Kemba a little bit, I think he's a little ahead of schedule now too. When you look at what he's doing in game number 2, like commenters overreacting to his, flow of the game. He's on a minutes limit. Like obviously the flow is going to be a little off. He's on a minutes limit.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think this game was like you want to win a game, but there's a bigger picture here, and they're developing good things for later in the season. Is my point.
But you don't like the way that again. I know. It comes down to execution in the 4th. I think the referees did get involved a little bit. They messed up the whole flow. I mean, you can't get into a flow when the whistles are blowing that way.
That's
and
true.
It came down to, sometimes, we consider and overanalyze things, but it comes down to Joel Embiid was the best player on the court tonight by far. And they didn't have anyone to stop him. And once he starts getting the calls and going on the line and he was hitting his free throws for the most part, that was the difference in this game. So we can sit here blue in the face and break down, each player's performance and substitutions and this, that, and the other thing. But Joel Embiid couldn't be stopped tonight. Sometimes players have those games, and he's had those games more often than not this year. And that's why, if you're really just locked onto the Celtics and not much else going on in the NBA, Embiid is putting on a MVP type season. So you got to chalk it up to that, I think, for the most part. And they're going to need to address it because if you want to get to where you want to go, dude, I'm glad that if you want to get to where you want to go, you're gonna have to go through the Sixers.
The drapes.
What I actually thought I thought he was in his bathtub. I thought that was the shower curtain behind him. I was like, are the acoustics better in the?
No,
I just want to change the scenery tonight.
When we first started, I was like, Bobby,
I'm in the tub.
You in Brockton
right now? Giving you a minute.
I want to improve your connection. I thought if I move closer to you, Joe,
you have the router in the tub.
Don't turn the water on.
Bobby pulled up to the Motel 6 for the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, Bobby's in the
all you need is a random picture in the background, like a house or something random in a hotel.
There's my defender pulling up for me.
Yeah.
True.
Oh man.
If it's not the UPS uniform, it's the shower curtains.
He's in bed. He's in Bed Bath and Beyond right now.
He did take a trip to the spa today. That was nice.
Bobby Pace Motel. Oh man.
All right.
If there's a large stairwell behind you, bro, you gotta get out of there.
Want me to bring up one more positive tonight? While I'm trying to draw some silver lining here. Marcus Smart. That was another
Best
reason
game of
I
the
think
year.
Kemba Walker didn't play as much for certain stretches of this. You had to roll with Marcus Smart on the ball, and sometimes what he does is just inexplicable. I can't believe a guy who is shooting less than 40% at the rim. We've talked about it all year. He can't finish. Now all of a sudden he's hanging floaters over Embiid's head, powering through him at the net.
Marcus has these games though.
Where you're just like, wow.
But
We
when's the last
talk
time we
about
saw this, John?
overreacting. We're not
John.
overreacting to this Marcus game. This
No,
was
no,
one of
no,
those
but-
like no, yes games where
But that's not what this was, John. That's not what this was.
he did he had 6, 7, 8 times where he went and he did something wild and it went in, where normally it's like, Jesus, why are you doing that?
Oh, come on.
Really high degree of difficulty stuff that
Right.
normally doesn't fall for
He
him.
had,
Shot
a pair,
right at halftime.
he had a pair of turnovers. It feels like he has more. He had more, but he only had a pair of turnovers, and he got those 25 points with 1 3-pointer.
1-3. That's what I'm saying. Is it was
Typically
a game
there's like 4 or 5 in there.
It's a game I don't think he can repeat. So I'm not going to put much stock in it because this isn't how you ever want to see him play. Going to the basket wildly and throwing up left-handed floaters. Like that's usually
Well, he
bad,
shouldn't be
Marcus.
taking
They
20
just went in
shots,
tonight.
but I didn't hate it.
I'm glad it went in because the result was good, but this isn't the, this is exactly the Marcus you really were afraid to see, truthfully. The results ended up good.
Aren't of any Marcus at this point, John? I don't know if there's one that you're not.
John is team Marcus. Please don't ever shoot again.
I'm team Marcus. Shoot within the flow and take your threes. And sometimes they go and sometimes they don't. But if you're going to be around 36, 37%, that's going to be good enough to take them when they're open. And then never look for your offense unless you really have a clean lane. But I mean, the numbers are the numbers. He just is not good at finishing around the rim. When he goes to the basket, usually good things don't happen. You want to see him running that pick and roll and distributing and taking open shots. And that's usually good, Marcus. This one was, again, the results were good. It's hard to knock it, but I don't know that he can repeat it playing this style of basketball.
He also smacked Tice tonight accidentally trying to draw a foul. So, poor Tice.
Tice has drawn a lot of collateral damage. Yeah, I think he's hurt his hand like twice this year.
Tice, yeah, he will not be leaving the hotel room.
You're right, John. About
fire too.
I think John's right about being able to repeat this performance. We probably won't see a game quite like this where everything's happening inside the arc and the paint effectiveness is there. But I do like the sense, and Josue had said this too, we haven't seen this Smart this year.
Yeah.
And he was in that position where he's holding back all year. He's only taking the shots. He has an awful game on Sunday. And then he comes out here and he just senses something that he has to take over. He started 0 for 4 in this one. You saw that awful miss on the baseline early. But then it started clicking in that second quarter and he just kept rolling and never turned back. And if he wasn't being that aggressive in this game, they wouldn't have been in the game late. He was pacing the offense for large stretches of the second half. So as much as you ideally want to see him always be in the state of zen, where he's taking the perfect shots and, not interfering with anybody else's offense, not taking difficult ones, you're not going to get nights like this for him where you still need them on certain nights, especially with him being limited as he is right now. I always trust Smart to make the right decisions in terms of how he's going to approach a game, especially this year, because I think, we're 13 games in, say about 11, he's taken the right approach. Sunday was a mess. I believe there was another stinker in there somewhere. But overall, I've been happy with what we've seen from him.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, people are killing him to start this year. He's still shooting.
I've been too. You're talking about Smart still, right? Yeah. I've been happy with Smart. I mean, we all said that.
Yeah,
we were
I mean, I think Bobby,
he's been a shot selection this year than we have been in past years.
He's taken that backseat role he needed to, for the most part.
And I'm not ready to crown him, all-star, all NBA team. But I think he's, like Bobby said just now, he's accepting, I think, his role. When they're all healthy, I do feel like he is not trying to overstep like Tatum and Brown. Of course, there are going to be a shot here or there that you're scratching your head that you don't want. That's never going to go away. But for the most part, I think I'm generally content with the way he's approached the season.
But his efficiency, his numbers are down across the board. I think assists are slightly up, but I mean, just in terms of shooting and just efficiency, he's down. He's not having. You expected him to take a half a step forward based on increased role and need, and he's been not efficient. And he's already not super efficient player to begin with. I mean, his field goal percentage from three and from the field in general is pretty friggin' low.
I feel like two of those games are probably the Pritchard games, no? The 20-plus point game and the other one. And I mean, not to say that Pritchard should be a reason why he's stealing the sunshine, but you know Marcus Smart, someone like that, he's got to step to the side and do other things to help the team, you know? I think those are the only two games where he really, again, this is his best performance by far. This is the best we've seen from Marcus Smart this year.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the Marcus that was chucking a whole lot of threes. Yeah, I mean, he went 1 for 6, but I mean, it wasn't. He didn't have to make 4 or 5 3-pointers to get there, to get to 20+. You know, scoring. What was it? Shooting over 50%. I mean, that's a good Marcus Smart game, especially when you don't have Jason Tatum.
I like that he's getting on the line a ton too, and I was thinking this during the game. I have to dive into it a little deeper, but a guy who shoots as many threes as he does to be going to the line 6 times a game, it's pretty impressive too. And we've talked about is it the best thing that he's hunting those fouls, but he's getting there game in and game out now. Through 13, he's averaging over 6 a game. Gets 7 tonight, doesn't hit all of them as he'd like to see from him though. So he's diversifying his game enough through 13 games where you say he can still succeed and be a good third option, fourth option now, while Brown's getting his ball time, while Tatum's getting his primary ball time, and even Kemba's leading the offense now. And at some point, Smart's going to head back to the bench and lead the bench, and I trust him to do that too.
I think for me, if
there's a Thompson jersey back there, man, I would have lost it. If you replace the Horford with him, oh man.
Marcus Smart for who he is. So that's kind of like where I'm at. I mean, John, we talked about how he makes it. We just talked about when he drives to the hoop and some of the ridiculous, shots he tries to make at the basket and how you don't want that to happen. Then you talk about some of the 3-pointers he takes, how you don't want that to happen. So it's like Marcus Smart really can't win, I feel like, out there on the court unless he's hitting every shot or every basket that he takes. So I think it's a little unfair the way some people, expect him to play out there. His flaws are definitely talked about. But at the same time, I think a lot of Celtics fans, Green Teamers, might overstate some of the stuff he does out there at points with the whole winning plays and things like that. So it's a healthy balance. It's a polarizing player. Certainly one of the more polarizing players of the last decade in Boston. I think you're either on one side or the other with him. But I've kind of accepted who he is. So I think he's important to your team for sure, and how important I guess remains to be seen.
We'll never truly know. The Marcus Smart debate will never be settled because unless he goes. And when he goes, you'll realize, oh, wow, we are really missing Marcus Smart and his energy and leadership and fire. Or you literally will never think of him again and say, wow, we really overvalue this guy. And that's the only way you'll know it. Because you don't have any idea because so much of it is based off of intangible sort of things. In addition to obviously doing, making some real he's not a bad basketball player. It's just his actual value to the team. He does a lot of good things on the court too, but so much of it is tied to the heart and soul sort of stuff, the energy, the Cobra strike, the grit, just knowing that you've got a guy out there who wants it more than the other guy, which obviously is a value, but it's really, really hard to measure at times.
That's the thing. Exactly. It's hard to measure. It's easy to look at stats and talk about stats. It's hard to measure the intangible stuff. So I guess it's what do you value more? And some people value one more than the other. So that's why the debate will just continue to rage on, like John said.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly.
And it's a take you good to take the bad scenario with him.
Right. Exactly.
But you surround him with what we're calling 3 all-stars, right? That's what's supposed to make him, that's going to elevate him, especially in the playoffs, in the postseason. I mean, that's why these championship, or these winning plays can turn into championship winning plays, And I think Marcus Smart is continuing to to get better defensively. Obviously, you look at his defensive accolades, and you're like, okay, yeah, you take the good with the bad. But at the same time, let's not forget, he's come a long way, or at least he's progressed in that aspect of shooting, or at least his shot selection, right? Because that was the biggest complaint before, right? Oh, he has awful shot selection, and then now it's like, oh, okay, well, maybe he's just taking it upon himself too many times. At least it's what it seemed like throughout the bubble, throughout the postseason. But there's a lot of contributing factors when you think about the injuries and the bubble and the environment. And I think for the most part, I've liked what I've seen out of Marcus Smart, but especially tonight, it was by far again his best performance of the year.
And this isn't a rare game for him. It's not like, whoa, where'd this come? Because he does this a couple times a year, and that's probably what you're paying for too with him, and what you're expecting from is there's just going to be maybe 12 games per year where he just completely blows you away, and quite a few of them have happened in the playoffs too, where the aggregate doesn't matter as much. It's just what you're doing in the moment when the game's on the line.
Yeah, let me. I don't have this sound, but we were talking about the refs earlier, and since we're talking about Smart, here's Smart when he took the podium today, talking about Embiid and the refs. It's tough, especially when we've got our hands up a lot of the times, and he flails and gets the call, and then down the other end, we've got our guys attacking the rim, getting contact, and we're getting no whistle. Tough to play like that. If it wasn't reversed, I do it every time. It's hard not to get in a rhythm when you shoot 21 free throws alone. So basically, Embiid shot 21, we shot 20. Can't win like that. He's not wrong. It sounds like sour grapes, but it was
a tough whistle tonight. It was
a really tough whistle. Embiid got it every time, and a lot of times where it's like you could have just
LeBron treatment.
You could have just called it basketball. Two people, you don't have to call this is another thing refs struggle with. You don't have to call a foul every time two bodies touch. Sometimes it's just part of basketball. So just because he drew contact doesn't mean it's a foul. There is bumping and they're going to bang up against each other in the post. It's part of the game. It's not always a foul. But every time there's any contact with Embiid, he does the flail and he gets the call. It's unbelievable. It really is impossible. It's impossible when the whistle's that sensitive.
Right.
And it's two very large human beings going up against each other. Like bodies are going to hit each other, and like they'll be okay. Like they're not hurt. Like let them play on. They're two guys that are one's trying to score and the other. Like let play on, like, you know what I mean? Like
it wasn't even Embiid. The one that pissed me off the most might have been Harris and Tice. Harris up fakes and looks to pass, and Tice kind of bumps against him while he's making the pass, and they blow a whistle. He's just passing the ball. He's not even trying to score.
You didn't even see his intention. There's no way you saw his intention on that.
They touched bodies. Like that. Come on with that foul.
I'm thinking too. There was a transition play for I think it was Brown who got really tied up. You guys probably remember that play. No whistle there, and I said, all right, this is going to be a tough whistle. But you have those games throughout the year. This was almost the opposite of that first Detroit game that had that incredible pace, ton of physicality, and they weren't blowing the whistle there. So I think what happens, John, is you set a tone and you start calling them, and all of a sudden you have to match it both ways, and all of a sudden the whistles start piling up.
Make him pay for it, though. That's the whole thing. I hate that. You're going to let a guy go to the if Embiid gets 21 free throws next time, I want him to have at least 7 or 8 bruises when it's over. Like if you're gonna foul a guy, foul the F out of him, okay? And make him earn it down there. Those are the worst. He's not even working hard there. He's literally catching the ball and he turns around. It's tweet. That's fine. You want to play rough? You want to play physical? Absolutely. Bang him up next time and make him earn the free throws. That's going to be in his head a little bit. This is the worst. This is the worst case. Or just you got to trap and double a little bit. Also, one thing Thompson was struggling with for sure. He was letting
bring back Al.
Huh?
Joe Sway was saying bring back Al.
What you're describing is exactly what Al did.
Yeah. He made it hard with Baines, for example.
He touched him up,
Baines, after a while.
Oh, man. Another one.
You just got tired of slamming into him. You would posterize him 6 times in the first half, and by the second, you're like, I don't want to play against this guy anymore.
That should be Thompson. That should be
Thompson. And we talk about, everyone wanted Baines and nobody wanted him. He had an awful game when we saw him here. But, like, if you're serving a role, you have to fill that role. Okay? Right. And if you don't, then what good are you? That's the problem. Is Thompson would be fine if he was that guy, but I mean, he looked like a guard out there trying to get against him. It didn't even look close. Physically, I mean, no one can match up with him physically, but we've seen guys do it, with Baines and with Horford that aren't 7'2", 270 pounds. I mean, Baines is a brick wall. Tristan's not that guy.
It's too bad we didn't get a chance to see Robert, though. I was looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So going back to that
not
preseason
necessarily
game,
one-on-one, but as a complimentary defender, down low. Go ahead, Bobby.
Going back to that preseason game, he did show a little something on Embiid, and that was kind of an Embiid game where he's just jacking up shots preseason, practicing his jumper. Wasn't as much. I mean, Embiid brought it to the post tonight in a way you don't always see from him. So maybe it wouldn't have gone well from Rob. Rob's known to foul. But again, when we stack it up, Rob has given more consistent, good minutes, especially defensively on the boards and shot blocking, rim protection, certainly than Thompson has. So you can't argue that he would have been a better option tonight. I went into the numbers on Rob before this game because I thought Rob was actually going to play. I believe he is second in offensive rebounding percentage and in the top 15 in defensive rebounding percentage. So he's been among the best rebounders to start this year. We know he protects the rim. The question with him in this matchup would be, does he foul as much as everybody else? And the way the whistle was flying tonight, he probably would have had 5, just like Grant and Thompson.
Yeah, I can see that. Totally see that.
Did Grant Williams play?
I was thinking that. I was thinking
3.
I know he started and he hit a 3, and then I remember nothing else.
The only thing I remember is they tried to get him a post up, and it got completely cut off into a bad turnover, and that was the only thing I remember him doing all night.
And that sums it up for him.
See, 16 minutes, 1 of 3. He hit that 3-pointer. That was it.
He feels irrelevant at the 4, besides taking 2 threes and hitting 1, which is what he does some nights. Like,
well, we used Tatum on Friday, man. This team needs Tatum.
Yeah.
I
think this
no
week
doubt.
answered it. You got the Magic, who were missing 7 players in their own right. You can kill them with Brown and whoever. The Knicks come through. I mean, they're probably a mid-level team this year, and they destroyed the Celtics. And then tonight you get spectacular game from Tice and Smart that buoy it a little. But if you get half as much as that from them, this is a blowout too here. And in that second quarter, it started to get up by 8. I think Philly did. I said this could turn into not a Knicks game, but another blowout here. So the importance of Tatum, and credit to Brown, he held them up for large stretches of this game. He's been good with Tatum absent. Smart, Kemba giving them good stuff here. But the team is so central to what Tatum does. It's if he's here, they're good. If he's not, they're, a low-end playoff team, if that.
So
I wouldn't. I hate pickles.
Me too.
I hate pickles too. I despise.
Wow,
Here comes
very snacking food.
I've heard that.
They're awesome. They're
22.
salty and they're great.
So here's the thing.
It's gonna sound weird.
You feel like eating something, but don't want to have a lot. Pickles are awesome.
It's gonna sound weird because I love tartar sauce, but I can't do pickles straight.
Here's the thing I'll say about pickles. If you have like a jar of pickles as a snack, I get that. But every time you put pickles like next to a sandwich or in a sandwich, all I can taste is pickles.
Yeah,
that's why it doesn't belong in a burger.
It spoils the whole box.
So, let me tell you this:
in a burger.
3 of the 4 of you share this opinion, but you don't share it with the world. Most people love pickles. You guys are nuts.
But I don't want pickles. I get like a ham and cheese or whatever deli meat.
Pickles on everything.
And you put pickles like next to it or on it, all I can taste is pickle juice, pickles, and get that off of my sandwich, man.
I always take the pickles off Chick-fil-A when I get it.
I always just say no.
It doesn't belong there. You're right.
I'll tell you exactly what I want, and if
it's so unnecessary.
If it comes out the wrong way, like there might be a problem. I'll be nice about it, but like, hey, like I kind of said no pickles, or like
Chick-fil-A, Popeyes, get the pickles off that sandwich.
And Chick-fil-A, that's the only thing they put on the sandwich.
They don't even put sauce.
It's the acid. That's what it adds. It's a brilliant little thing. It needs it, or hots, or something, or hot peppers. You got to put something in there.
The only time it's not bad is if it's like chopped into a sauce for a burger. But if it's the circle pickles all over your burger,
You make a good
I know
point,
there's a lot
John.
of pro pickles out there, pro pickle people out there. I know there is, but it's not me, and nothing's gonna
Wait,
change.
I
not
know.
this
I
guy.
was surprised. We almost went 4 for 4.
Not
Thank you,
Donnie
Donald.
Brown.
So
Yeah.
this is
Donald knows what's good. There you go,
there's a
Donald.
huge gap in the argument right now.
Apology camp for pickles. I'm for it.
John, we put all kinds of things. You're
Yeah.
talking acid, you're talking flavor.
Yeah.
You don't throw a whole slice of pepper on a sandwich and bite into the pepper to add that flavor. They grind it up. It's mixed in. You don't even notice it.
Good point, Bobby.
You don't want to take a big bite of a pickle. You just don't.
Yo,
If
if you
this was
get
around
All
the
right.
horn, he'd get mad.
Apologies. Whoever said Grant should be traded for pickles is upset with himself right now.
Why did I start this?
But I also eat pickled everything. I eat like jars of kimchi. So like
Oh,
so you
this
want
is
to know
weird,
something?
John.
This is actually kind of embarrassing. I only found this out like maybe 3 years ago that pickles are pickled cucumbers. I had no idea.
what
I
the
didn't
fuck?
think about
What you think they were?
I just
Grapes?
thought it was a pickle. I thought a pickle was just.
Oh, you
a
thought they were
pickle.
different things?
It was its own thing.
I would
And
have
then
kept that
someone's
one
like,
to
"Oh, it's a
myself,
pickled
my guy.
cucumber."
Damn,
I
Jimmy.
was like, "Whoa, what?"
I would have too, yeah.
My bad, guy. I mean, that one's on me, but
That's like thinking an apple and a pear, just different shapes.
wait.
Yeah, for
what?
real.
No, but my
Apology,
last point on
Cam.
the pickles, you get a
Apologize
sandwich
to
to
pickle.
go. You get a sandwich to go, and like you don't open it right away, and you open it up, it's in a box, and like the pickles, your bread is just soggy pickle juice bread.
We'll save the pineapple one for another.
All right. Once we get into pickles and pizza, I think we're in
Yeah,
bad
but how funny
shape.
is that though? The one guy, the guy who hates when we go off the rails is the one that started this conversation.
Yeah. All right, guys, rein it in. No more pickle talk.
That's
No
the
more pickle
most.
talk.
That's the most Jimmy, Josue, and I ever agreed on one topic on this show.
Facts.
That was good.
Recorded this day.
We
History.
have a quorum. Yeah. No, I like that.
One commenter said that
Of course, John had to ruin it.
he predicted that Marcus Smart would take the game-winning shot in Game 7 of the playoffs.
Facts.
If that happens, John will not be on the show like that night because he will actually have a heart attack as that shot is being released. If Marcus Smart is taking the game-winning shot in Game 7 of the NBA Finals,
Oh man.
he will never know if it went in. He'll be like, "Oh my God, what? Like, why is he doing that?" And then that would be the end of John. We'll never see him.
But I like that. Look, I go on those rides. Like I said, you know me. I'll overreact to positive and negative, but it's
I don't know, guys.
Hey.
That might if or when the crowd comes back, Marcus might not be able to contain himself. He's gonna lose it.
Is that what's raining him in this year?
Those first couple of games, he might be checking up 25 plus. All
right, guys. Real quick, before we wrap it, tons of people asking for TPE talk. We've been around the horn on terms of needs. I'm going to go back to the beginning of the season. I said it from then. That I thought wing more than big. I hated using the mid on Thompson. Wasn't my thing. I know there might not have been a wing out there, but I thought that was a team's greatest need. I don't think Thompson. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to make this about Thompson. But now you've got the TPE. What do you need here? Because right now we've talked about it. You do need a true big, even though you've got a bunch of bigs. So I don't know what you do there unless you're able to package one along with the TPE and move them along. Or do you need another wing?
I'm hoping that's going to be enough, the first part. But the San Antonio Spurs, they're in 5th place right now, so it's kind of ruining things. My favorite guy right now is LaMarcus Aldridge. I know it's a long shot. I know it's not exactly the person that's going to be easiest for them to go and grab. But I think after what we saw against Philly, I mean, look, he addresses those needs. He will check those boxes. He's not a bona fide three-point shooter, but he can stretch the floor a bit. We know what he does defensively. I think he's that guy that can really touch up Joel Embiid and really give him a hard time down low and muscle him up, along with Thompson. Don't get me wrong. I like to throw shade at Thompson every once in a while when I can. But I just think he's more of a complimentary piece when it comes to defending Joel Embiid. I don't think he can be a main guy. He's not the the Al Horford, if you will. He's just not that. He needs a complimentary guy. I think LaMarcus Aldridge would be a humongous pickup for the Celtics. He wouldn't be the 4th or 5th option. What you get out of him would be a bonus because everything will really boil down to what he does for you defensively. And then you have 35-year-olds, power forward, 10-time All-Star, never been to the NBA Finals, never really been down that road of a deep playoff run. I mean, that's my number one pick right now, LaMarcus Aldridge.
Yeah, I've mentioned that one too. He makes a ton of sense as a 24 million pickup. It expires at the end of the year, and then maybe you could bring him back on a smaller deal or something like that next time around. So that would make sense. The price would be cheap. The Spurs are going to have to move on, but they've been playing well to start this year. So who knows how long they're going to hang on to that? You would think they would have to trade him before the deadline. But I'm keeping a closer eye on Houston now, and I've mentioned PJ Tucker a million times going back 3 years now as a target for the Celtics. I certainly think he's going to be available. And now you do hear the rumblings around people with the Rockets who cover that team on a regular basis. They're 4-8 now. The prospects of them competing for a playoff spot seem to fade every given day. They didn't go all in on winning with that Harden trade. They picked up a couple of role guys and picks for the future. This is one of the years that they do have their own pick. And Oladipo's on a 1-year deal. And we talked about this back with the Pacers with the Hayward situation. I believe he's on a deal that would slide in. They'd, of course, become a tax team. You got to, ask that question. Does Oladipo bring you closer to a championship?
Yeah. Remember when we didn't want Oladipo?
Well, now I do, but no, I don't want him. No.
Well, now he would just cost picks, essentially. So
before it would have cost Hayward.
Yeah, yeah. 2 months ago, it cost you Hayward. That's true.
No, well, yeah. But before we were asking that question of whether we were moving on from Kemba or something like that, now you would picture him fitting on the wing. But yeah, you got a point. We're circling back to the same general.
People talking about 35-year-old LaMarcus, but they want a 6'5" PJ Tucker to take care of Bam Adebayo and the
6'5" YMCA body PJ Tucker.
PJ Tucker. Okay, yeah, sign me up, guys.
He's an excellent.
How old is he, by the way? What, 34 or 36?
36.
What are you talking about here? LaMarcus Aldridge can still ball, man. The dude put up
Blake
20
Griffin is washed. Anyway,
Blake Griffin's so expensive.
He's washed.
Go do your homework.
No, you can only go 24 million max on this anyway. Blake's like 32. I'm looking at Barnes. He's another name that gets tossed around. Yeah, Barnes fits, but he signed 3 years. It goes down, but he's not that good, so I wouldn't touch Barnes.
Here's my question. Why would we want the Celtics to rush into a TPE auction right now?
No, we're just talking names that could be available.
No, but there's just so many people who are like, they need to get a TPE guy. They need to get a TPE guy. You need to wait it out a little bit longer and really see what happens. Also,
this isn't happening till March.
No, Steve Adams not going anywhere though. That's the thing.
Worst case scenario, one of your regulars goes down with some sort of injury, and I obviously don't want that to happen, but you don't want to make a move. You don't want to make a move now with so much time left to go. You want to use that later. If you're trying to use it for this season, you want to use that as later into the season as you can, so you know that you're getting something that's going to actually help you.
Yeah, none of these players even available yet, so that's the other half.
That's nothing. You actually wait till the trade deadline passes, and then Danny says how close he was on a bunch of things.
Well, we will find that out. We will find that out.
So close. We were so close.
We're in on it. Hey, that reminds me.
We were in on a lot of things.
I hate that.
But we just couldn't give away nothing.
Well, Keith's article was awesome on talking about how it's like
you broke that down.
Training with Danny Ainge.
That was good.
That was really good. And it sounds like a lot of teams do enjoy training with Danny Ainge. So but it also sounded like some teams are a little scared. They feel like him and Zarin are a little bit smarter than they are, maybe.
Well, that's always going to be the case, though. Like if somebody, you're playing fantasy football and someone,
offers you a trade
for a guy, and you're like, wait, why? Is he good? What's wrong? Immediately you're like, well, why are you asking about him? You're like, why do you want him? I barely want him. Like I must be missing something. You're always going to think that, But that was an interesting article.
I thought it was interesting how a lot of them said like, oh, we talk about trades all the time. Like we're always talking about this guy or that guy, and a lot, like 99% of it never happens. But just the fact that like these GMs just casually text each other, like, what about this guy? What about that guy? Like that's kind of funny because that's how the average Joe would sort of treat their fantasy basketball team, like John just mentioned.
Yeah, so, just calling around. What do you think?
Very real for them. Yeah. Why did we not get Dwight Howard? I don't know. Dwight Howard's been a guy loosely linked to the Celtics for like 15 years, I feel like. Never.
Dwight Howard might actually be my least favorite player of all time.
I disagree with that. I think Dwight Howard is.
So I'm guessing you don't think he's a Hall of Famer, right? Because that's going to be the next question.
He is.
I think he is.
Numbers will be there, but
I think he
what's
is.
amazing is he's been irrelevant for like a decade, and he's only like 34. Like
seriously, because he was 18 when he came in.
Injuries.
That's why
He was at one point. I mean, he was
like a 2020 guy,
dominant player.
Absolutely, he's always soft, and he never developed a post game.
Little immaturity, perhaps.
He's so soft, and he just never developed anything. He was just a physical force because, I mean, he has the athleticism of like an athletic wing in a 7-footer's body. I mean, he's ridiculous.
Guy who came out of high school and maybe wasn't the mature factor wasn't there. Maybe a couple of years in college.
Had a major back injury too as he left the match.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. He had major.
Also, nobody likes him.
Seems that way.
Damn, John's going in right now.
Literally, nobody likes him anywhere he goes.
No one wants to team up with him.
No one wants anything to do with him.
He had the most fun in the bubble, though. He looks so happy down there. Well, he won a championship, but I guess that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's another guy that LeBron carried to a ring, put it on LeBron's.
No, he played well in that run last year. He's rebounded well to start this year too. He's still a great rebounder, and that's why he'll make the Hall of Fame. I think he's like top 10 in rebounds, probably pushing top 5 at this point ever. That's really all he does at this point. A couple of finishes here, putbacks. I thought he was pretty bad tonight, so I don't know what that guy's all excited about.
Speaking of
I know, right?
LeBron carrying guys to rings, Kyrie returned to the Nets tonight. You guys wanted to talk about that, didn't you?
Well,
I didn't see the game.
So
I didn't either, but
no, a couple things that were interesting off of it. You had the first time with the big 3 lineup, all playing. Yeah. Kyrie returned tonight, and they lose to Cleveland, which is bad.
It's baffling. That's baffling to me. I don't even.
And again, Cleveland's been better this year. What was interesting to me, and again, it was hard to watch with the Celtics, was through regulation, Kyrie came back, and Durant played 50 minutes in this game in a double overtime game. Harden 51. Okay,
don't want that.
Kyrie 48. Okay, they went for it. Harris 42. Jeff Green 45. So they played.
Jeff Green 45. Wow.
45 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, the man a long time.
I know.
Through regulation, Harden only had 11 shots, and Kyrie had like 25. So
that would worry me if I'm a Nets fan. For those 3 guys,
the minutes for sure. But it's interesting. But, Kyrie came back and immediate was like my ball, and
This is a little different though, John, because you know what this is? This is the 3 of them getting together and saying, "Look, Kyrie, you made your statement. Everyone's against you. This is going to be your big night." So I can see those 3 saying,
Kyrie,
let's give you the ball.
Kyrie took 28 shots in his return with Harden and Durant on the floor and had 3 assists.
That's Harden and Durant saying, "Look, we're riding with this guy. Okay, we're on."
It was like Kemba on Sunday.
What's up?
It was like Kemba on Sunday.
Right. Well, a little exaggerated because
how the hell was it like
they went deep into two overtimes, but no, to Bobby's point, I mean,
I don't know.
He was taking more shots than everyone else, but then again, there wasn't Tatum. Tatum wasn't in the picture, so I guess
I don't know. I'd like to see some advanced stats there on how long he held on to the ball. I don't think he gave it up too much.
I didn't see the game, so I can't comment. But I mean, I don't know how they lost to the Cavs. I mean, double overtime. I'm just surprised the Cavs had the stamina to keep that going in a double overtime. But I mean, to see Kyrie sort of pick up left off. I said it to the year. I mean, if Kyrie Irving just plays basketball, I mean, the Nets will go as far as they want to go. Obviously now it's a little different. They have to acclimate James Harden into the mix. We'll see how that goes. But I mean, those 3 guys on any given night. I mean, it's hard to bet against them on any given night, right? Can we start looking at Sexton as the one who got away?
No.
That's a good conversation because he's had a monster year to start. We'll see how it finishes, but we think Brown's played pretty well. He's been on another level on top of that.
He's been really good.
He's carrying the team. Okoro, I talked so much about him before the draft. I think he's going to be the player of this draft when it's
he might be.
And then they have good big men, good wings. They just have a solid team. I think they like their coach.
Yep.
We talked about the Allen edition there too. They're coming to Boston on Sunday, so we'll see them soon.
They're definitely a better team.
Yeah, they're not pickles. They're better.
Drummond's like a 30-30 guy. Forever links to the Celtics. Will never actually come here, but
he's
we'll
a
always
good
talk
fit
about.
for that team. Like they could eat the money. He's not bad. Like he's such a divisive player. Some people think he stinks. Some people think he's the savior. A lot of the Celtics fans, but he's good for that team. They got him for nothing, and he's.
I can't watch that clumsy goof over. I know he's good. I know he's.
I think that's like the impression we have, but like he's not very clumsy.
I guess centers just suck. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not fun. They're not fun.
This is why we're gonna, with the way the league is today, we're gonna be talking.
I don't want any centers
unless it's
except when you're getting dominated by a really good one. Otherwise, I don't want any of them.
How many great centers are in the league? Jokic, Embiid, Davis,
and Tyler.
See, that's why over the summer when Bobby was like, "Oh, Ty's the top 10 center," I'm like, that doesn't say a whole lot. That used to mean something once upon a time.
Viewing Olajuwon, like right. If you're cracking the top 5, you're right.
Right, well, you were like one of the best players in the NBA.
Yeah,
that's where the divide.
Top centers that are superstars.
Like anyone probably born before Joe Sway, like grew up where centers were everything, and now they're so unimportant.
Yeah, Drummond's not even the best center on that team.
Allen is now, yeah.
Dude, Harden had a triple-double, by the way.
He did. He had some assists, but he didn't shoot a lot. So you're right. Maybe it was deferential. Like, hey, Kyrie, that's cool. I didn't touch any of your stuff.
Yeah, your lock is still
right where you left it, buddy.
Hey, we still run this play.
Yeah,
we don't even use
totally
the other
cool. I'm just here. I'm done. Garbage.
All
right. We've talked enough. We've talked Pickles. We've talked Nets. We killed Thompson. We killed Smart. Celtics lose.
Was there a lot of
dice pickles, if anything? That's what I'm saying.
Was there a lot of pickle love or hate in the comments? Because I didn't see
mostly love.
It's always love, man. People love pickles. They just love it. There's no way around.
Girls like pickles too. So that's a point.
Do they?
Probably.
Girls drink freaking alcohol flavored pickle or whatever. Like they love it.
Bobby, did you ever send me that Manscaped graphic?
Oh no.
Pickle barrel.
We're just gonna have
That's what it is. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna tell you about Manscaped. I don't have to. We'll add it after the fact.
Pickle barrel in Killington, Vermont is an probably all-time bar. In
Jimmy, we got a
America.
sponsor.
John, we're talking about pickles. Give us a second, man. We're talking about.
We got a sponsor.
Pickles aren't paying us.
Well, pickles don't pay the bills, guys.
They might have to soon.
Yo, dill. We got dill though. Dill.
Right. Manscaped pays the bills. Okay.
Want to hear the deal?
We got new products. We got new products.
Mystery ad.
Right.
Does somebody have it?
New products. I don't have it. Okay. Happy New Year from Manscaped. Okay. Join the 2 million men who trust Manscaped for their below the waist grooming. 2 million. Okay. There's a part here I'm not supposed to read, but the part I am supposed to read.
You're not supposed to read that part.
Yeah,
Fill in here where it says your name. Your name.
This is like one of those like athlete apologies where they just copy and paste the PR team. Tell
your name,
right?
So Manscaped's here to give you a New Year's resolution you'll actually want to keep. The perfect package 3.0 below the waist grooming you need to start off strong this year. Come out of quarantine with everything taken care of down there with the Lawnmower 3.0. Waterproof, skin safe, absolutely. We've got the Crop Reviver. That's a spray.
You really do. I mean, they make a good point. I mean, you're going to be coming out of quarantine. These vaccines are rolling out. You want to be ready to go. You're going to go straight to the bar scene.
Whatever works for you in quarantine does not work out of quarantine.
No chance.
In many different ways, yeah.
Okay. You got to change your grooming habits immediately.
It's been a while.
If you get vaccinated, you immediately go get Manscaped products right after.
Get vaccinated, then get Manscaped.
And get your Manscaped products like in tandem because you're going to need it to bring sexy back in 2021. You get 20% off free shipping with the code PRESSPASS20 at manscaped.com. Okay, 20% off free shipping. Use the code PRESSPASS20 manscaped.com. New year, new balls. That's what it says.
True. It's a big year. It's going to be a big year for balls. I can tell.
Yeah. So that's it. We're done. thank you for hanging out with us. We've got the Sixers again coming on Friday. Maybe JT, maybe Rob. We will see. But yeah, we'll see.
I want a classic. So we need Tatum. I want a classic. I want
a
a
pretty
double
entertaining
overtime
game.
thriller. That's what I want.
Yeah.
I was surprised Rob didn't play. Curry didn't play either, so they'll want him back. I was surprised he didn't play, especially.
Yeah, we forget about
Great
that too.
times.
He's having a good season for them.
Oh, he leads the league in 3-point shooting. He's been a game changer for them. So they have a guy too coming that they think can change this matchup. That would have made it 10 times tougher here.
Yeah. All right. So that's it, guys. We're gonna just wait. Like, what do you mean arrow?
Yeah. What's he? Oh,
you look like Steve Martin with the arrow between your head.
Yeah.
There you
go. Local.
Yeah.
Eat local, everyone.
Guys, we'll wrap it up. Jimmy Toscano, Bobby Manning, Josue Pavone. We will see you guys.